What is up, guys? What is up, Patriots around the world? The gang is all here. We're all here this time. We have a special guest backstage, and we're so excited to just share his story, share about what's really happening at the border, his past experience. It's going to be a great show. So if you guys are tuning in, no matter where you're from, drop a comment, drop where you're from. You guys are going to want to share this video out. You know how we always put the truth out there, facts. Sometimes it's not always something we want to hear, but you're going to hear it tonight. This is a great interview. You guys are going to want to sit on your couch, get some dinner, put in some TV dinners, whatever y'all eat, vegan, whatever. Get your food.
Pizza rolls. We don't care.
We don't care. If you want to drink some coffee, drink some coffee. Man,
if you want to eat s'mores Pop-Tarts, do it. No shame.
You do you, boo-boo.
Hey, listen, everybody, take 2 seconds to share this video, please. It is so important that you guys share this video. We have a great guest, great interview, great information. Please share this video.
But before further ado, we've been talking about it, and I think the mainstream media is trying to get off the topic, and hopefully something else bigger is going to happen because they're sick of talking about this because it doesn't fit their narrative. We know the shooting in Colorado. They were pinpointing as a white supremacy attack once again. And, you know, the blue check marks, Twitter, all of them were like, here we go again. Here we go again. Turns out it was an immigrant who came over here, who was mentally unstable, who was being tracked by the FBI. The FBI did nothing. And now there are 10 innocent lives that are lost. In one of the biggest states for gun control, has one of the most strictest gun laws. They have all the safety nets in place. And guess what? It still happened. But the only way to stop bad people with a gun is a good person with a gun. Am I wrong?
No, my argument would be the reason why it happened is because I wasn't there with my gun.
Facts.
And neither was anybody else. So.
But good thing this administration has everything down packed and they're, you know, on top of everything and they have everything under control. And by under control, I mean gun control. Kamala Harris really doesn't know what's going on. She says, go ahead, tell her what they said today, Suni.
Well, I'm going to let Kamala Harris tell you all because she was on Gayle King. So go ahead and pull up the clip.
Ted Cruz said something interesting yesterday. He called this conversation ridiculous theater, that the gun laws that are being proposed, the changes, would have done nothing to stop those shootings. Does he have a point? Is this a uniquely American failure? Does he have a point?
Well, this is what every time there is a slaughter, a mass shooting, someone who does not want to be accountable for what we need to do says, well, that wouldn't have prevented this thing. You know, arguably, if you took that approach to any law, you would argue that we shouldn't pass any laws that are designed to protect the health and well-being of the American people. So listen, yet again, we have a situation where there are 7 children who have lost their father, where there are families in 2 big states of our country who are mourning the loss forever, will be without their family members, their friends who were innocent, who were going about their lives and were gunned down. And, you know, but guys, I want to be, again, I'm going to start with where
Ted Cruz said something interesting yesterday.
What sense does she make? She didn't even
You know
answer
what question I would ask? What does the Constitution say?
She don't know because they don't go by the Constitution, like ever. You're muted.
You mean
valid point, Blake?
Yeah, guys, that was the best point. Too bad you guys couldn't hear it. But it goes back to the Constitution. If these people actually believed in the Constitution, they would know exactly what the answer is because they're just making up rules as they go. They're not following the Constitution, and they're trying everything in their power to make it go away. And the American people are not going to let the Constitution just go away.
But she makes absolutely no sense because Gayle asked her, okay, is he right when he says gun control won't stop this? Well, this is what happens when people don't want to take accountability for what's going on. How you're not holding the people accountable that deserve to be held accountable. You're holding the American people accountable. So I don't understand exactly what she's saying. It was kind of just like who do we need to hold accountable? That's the question we need to be asking Kamala. Like, who are you specifically talking about? Because right now it seems like we're the only people getting punishment for what this terrible person did. Like you're a bad person if you go in and kill 10 people for no reason.
Criminals don't follow laws.
They don't. So a universal
Exactly why taking
background
guns
check,
away is dumb.
it won't do anything.
No. All it's going to do is take guns out of the hands of good people and keep
Well,
guns in the hands of bad people.
exactly. The Ninth Circuit decided that they were going to vote to do something completely unconstitutional. It was a 7-4 decision that limits permits for open carry. It says the government may regulate, even prohibit in public places, including government buildings, churches, schools, and markets, the open carry of small arms capable of being concealed. So pretty much you have a small gun, you can't carry it outside of your home because it can be concealed and you're not allowed to carry it openly. Of course, this is going to affect the western states, Hawaii, California. But what they're doing is they're saying the Constitution means nothing. We're telling you that you're not allowed to do this.
Yep.
Joe Biden also urged the Supreme Court to allow police officers to enter your home without a warrant to confiscate your weapons.
Yep.
This is Germany. I'm sorry to say it. It's absolutely sad.
All right. Are we ready to bring on
We ready?
Victor? Okay, I'm going to try not to butcher his name, this poor man. Okay. Victor Avila. I think it's close. Okay.
Pretty good.
This man has a book called Agent Under Fire. Now, if any of you have ever trusted anything I've told you, please go buy this book. I bought it this afternoon. I've been reading it since I bought it, probably about 2 hours, and I'm almost done with it, and it's so good. So please go buy this book. And welcome to our show, Victor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it, and I really love the platform that you have here and the information that you're putting out. I think it's so important, and I can't help myself but want to comment on the mass shooting if I can.
Please.
First of all, I want to give my condolences to the police officer's family and all of the family members affected by the shooting. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. It's not the gun's fault here. It's the individual, and Kamala Harris wants to place accountability on the shooter because he's the person responsible for the shooting. Now, when it comes a little bit of, I used to live in Colorado, and so I know a little bit about the laws here. Colorado is an open carry state, just like the state of Texas, just like the state of Arizona. You can carry your gun on your hip, exposed. Even though I'm a native Texan, I was never really. It's rare for me to see somebody, but when the first time I went to Colorado and I saw somebody, believe it or not, at the same grocery store, not the same one with the shooting, the same chain, King Soopers. It was a female lady with a 38 snub nose, like exposed, like on her hip. It kind of takes you a little bit back. Oh, okay, yeah. And in Arizona, it happens the same way. So that's what the Ninth Circuit is trying to take away. What is not surprising to me is that there was no one with a gun here because Boulder is a very, very liberal town. Is a very, it didn't surprise me that no one. I wish also that someone there would have been a bystander with an innocent bystander with a firearm, because we know that would have been able to at least stop the threat and save lives. But gun control is not the answer. We know that and in my career I've seen it. It doesn't matter what you do with the law. What you're going to do is you're going to affect the law-abiding citizen. What you're not going to affect is the criminal element. They will continue to get the drugs. They will continue to get the firearms. Let's start addressing that. Let's see why this individual that was brought here as a child, and we're going to talk about this, of a lot of individuals being brought over right now, young ones, unaccompanied minors that are going to grow up, and they're going to grow up in this country. And unfortunately, a lot of them will grow up and commit crimes just like this individual. And so I'm a big proponent of border security, and we'll talk more about that, but I'll let you guys throw out some questions at me.
Okay, so the first thing that I really want to know is that I know, like, just a little bit of history that you were, fighting for answers from the Trump administration. Stop me if I'm wrong, about why why you and your partner were ordered to a place that you shouldn't have been. like Highway, what is it, 57?
57. So
First-
actually, the
First off,
answer is
Victor, can you tell them who you are?
yes.
Sorry.
My name is Victor Avila. I'm a retired ICE Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent. I worked most of my career on the border. I'm born and raised in El Paso. Worked most of my law enforcement career there in Mexico and in Europe. And I've lived in a lot of cities around the country. I'm a subject matter expert in human trafficking. I investigate, everything else: drugs, money laundering, counter-proliferation investigations, intellectual property rights. But my subject expertise is human trafficking. That's what I concentrate on, especially when I was in Mexico, rescuing countless women and children from these horrific conditions. And so we're seeing it now. And so to answer your question, it's actually the Obama administration that we've been trying to get answers, because it was this happened in 2011. So I could let your listeners and viewers know. In 2011, I was assigned to the U.S. Embassy, the ICE office in the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City. And I was sent on assignment of this Highway 57 with Special Agent Jaime Zapata, who was temporarily assigned to the office as well. And on the way back, traveling by land, we were ambushed by the Zetas Cartel, which at that time was probably one of the biggest cartels in Mexico and most violent. They were known for their level of violence. And they ambushed us on this highway where they shot at us over 100 rounds. Special Agent Jaime Zapata tragically lost his life next to me. He was killed in the line of duty. I was shot 3 times and miraculously survived. By the grace of God, I'm here talking to you. And so I wrote this book to inform people about, first of all, that this happened. It's been 10 years. This past February was the 10-year anniversary. And I think it's important for me to still tell the story, because a lot of people don't know that this even happened. And a U.S. agent was, protecting our homeland and working to defend us, and was killed in line of duty. So that's the reason why I wrote the book. It's very explicit in there, and it shares a story. And then also I go in there at the second part of the book and talk about what's going on right now with border security, as someone that's been there and done that, not a person that's gone there for a 5-minute photo op, and all of a sudden they're experts. I can tell you from experience what I've seen, and the ripple effect and consequences of illegal immigration, criminal illegal immigration, the cartels, that leads to and the effect in our country, in a lot of cities around our countries. Our cartels are present here in the United States everywhere. They're embedded with the gangs in Chicago, with the gangs in St. Louis, in Maryland. A lot of these high crime areas and a lot of these shootings are directly attributed back to the cartels, because it's the poison that they're pushing, right? The methamphetamine right now, they're the number one producers in Mexico of meth and fentanyl. And now there's a big issue because they're sending over all these fake pills that they have these pill mills making Adderall, Percocet, all these pills that college students might want to take one. And these are not students that they might be experimenting with drugs, but they're not junkies or what you would think of a person that overdosed of heroin. This is someone that just takes a pill, happens to get one that's full of fentanyl that'll kill hundreds of people, and they're dead instantly. And that's been happening a lot over and over in our country, aside from the true overdoses of heroin and those that have an addiction to these substances. But it all comes down to the cartels, and guess what? It all comes back to border security and Mexico and Central America, and the influx of individuals that we're allowing to come into this country. And so we'll get more into the nitty-gritty with your questions as to specifically what's going on. But it is a crisis. If anybody's telling you otherwise in the mainstream media, that the Biden administration will not admit even to say the word, which I think is so telling, that they won't even say the word because they know that their incompetence of dealing with what's happening at the border, all of a sudden it's happening under their watch, and they don't like it. They don't want the media going down there and taking photos of these detention facilities, these cages. Remember the cages? Well, they're full, and they're overflowing with people, overflowing with minors, and they don't want the media to cover it. They don't want to be exposed, because of their open border policies, and this is one of the consequences of it.
I have a question for you, just out of curiosity. Does the media ever reach out to you to talk about what's happening on the border? Do you ever reach out to the media to say, look, we need to talk about this? And they just...
No, I wish I could get on CNN. I want to be on MSNBC. I want to get on those channels and tell them the truth. Unfortunately, they'll never book me. I do a lot of conservative radio talk shows and podcasts and all other types of news. But the ones that and I don't mind being on them. I'm trying, as I'm bilingual, I'm trying to get over to the Spanish speaking languages like Univision and Telemundo, and they slowly invite me, and they'll get a 3 or 4 minute clip on me about I disagree with obviously most of the rhetoric that they push and the narrative. But I wish I would. I wish they would invite me to be on, because I'm not going to tell them anything that's not the truth. And not just because I'm on a conservative media platform means that I make it up or make it something that it's not. It's still the same information. But I rather get that part of the audience to really know, because we know that those mainstream media outlets are not telling the truth.
That's why I specifically asked that question, for people to understand how truly deceptive and how much the media lies to us. They don't put anything on there that's actually factual. And here you have somebody that's been on the border, somebody that's worked there. He's an ex-ICE agent. He has expertise there, and you don't even want to talk to the experts. That's what they say all the time. Let's listen to the experts. Well, here's an expert.
Well, yeah, they have this pundit that goes on there and never even been to the border, probably never even been to Mexico, and they're listening it from and taking the advice and information from that person. I'm going down there myself. I'm going to McAllen next week. I'll be there a couple of days. I'm going to be doing some media rounds and talking to the media, and I'm also going to see what I can capture on my own information that I could come back and share with on my media outlets and social media to basically inform the public. I think people need to know what is going on, because it is going to come to a neighborhood near you. It will happen. I've already talked to many people for example, in upstate New York, where their crime rate has spiked 40% in the last year. A lot of it has to do with illegal immigration. A lot of it has to do with gang members. The MS-13, if you guys ever heard of that, that's a gang out of El Salvador that are mostly concentrated in the northeast part of our country, Maryland up north. And these people are ruthless, and they go and not only victimize U.S. citizens, but they victimize their own migrant communities as well. And they terrorize them as well. And so these guys get deported and come right back. Our Border Patrol agents right now are grabbing and intercepting sex offenders, convicted felons, that are all these people that are trying to get right back in. Forget the new ones. These are people that have already been in our country, have even done prison time, or convicted felons. They want to come right back in and trying to come in through these caravans and to seek asylum,
Right.
But it's a mess down there.
So my question for you is, because a lot of people think it only impacts people on the southern border, like the southern border states, such as Arizona, California, and Texas. Which cartels right now do you think are like pushing this narrative and pushing this, huge influx, and who's really running the systems?
Great question. So this is what's going on with the cartels. There's about, by the way, the cartels in Mexico are running Mexico, and I'll be one of the few ones that'll say that no longer are the politicians, even the president of Mexico has lost control of his own country. And listen to what I'm saying here. It used to be the other way around. We know about the corruption in Mexico. We know how bad it is at every level, with the police and politicians and everywhere. It's just embedded like a cancer in that country. I used to live there and I worked there, and but there was a shift where the politicians still kind of ruled and kind of dictated to the cartels. This is the way it's going to be run. Well, that's the biggest difference in the last few years. That's no longer the case. It's the cartels that have taken over, not only just in the border regions, but they've expanded throughout all of Mexico. And by Mexico's own statistic, they say that the cartels have a control or influence of 80% of their country. I think it's all of it. But they acknowledge it. They know that this organized crime, these guys are, these guys are highly sophisticated. These are not drug gangs. They're no longer drug trafficking organizations. These guys are highly militarized groups, highly weaponized equipment, better than the Mexican army. And you see these firefights. I post a lot of these videos on my social media, and we have firefights. One last week here in 1 hour north of Puerto Vallarta, and you would think you're in Iraq. You would think you're in Afghanistan in the middle of the day. High rifle power rifles shooting, grenade launchers, people being killed, police officers being killed, military. It is a mess on a daily basis over there. And people ask, well, that's Mexico. Well, it might be happening there, but that violence has spilled over here to the United States a long time ago. It's just we haven't seen it at that caliber. And believe me, we don't want to see it at that caliber come over here. But with the open border situation, and you asked the cartels, it's the cartels have always worked in regions. We have the Sinaloa cartel that kind of comes up California, Arizona. You have the Juarez cartel that comes in through El Paso. You have right now probably the most powerful cartel in the world is the cartel Jalisco New Generation. These guys have unlimited budget, by the way. They're not like the FBI and DEA and ICE and HSI that have a budget and have to deal with spending. These guys have unlimited amount of cash.
How do they have unlimited?
Their drug trafficking operations, their human smuggling operations. They're involved in the avocado trade. They're involved in the illicit trade of gasoline and petroleum from Mexico. These guys are no longer drug gangs. They're as sophisticated as a U.S. corporation, and that's how well organized they are. The Zetas Cartel that attacked us, and we went to a trial in 2017 in D.C., and they even testified to that hierarchy. They testified how they had to check out these weapons and check out the vehicle, and even had fleet cards to their own vehicles. This is how organized they are. And right now, the cartels have shifted. They still do the drugs, they do everything, but they realize, hey, wait a minute, these human beings pay a lot of money. You used to have the coyotes, right? The human smugglers, kind of separate from the cartels. They used to, that was like their thing, the guys that push people. Well, the cartels are like, not anymore. You're going to come through Mexico, you have to come through us. So all these people that you see turning themselves into Border Patrol to seek asylum have already paid what they say in Spanish. They paid the piso, which is the plaza, the fee to the cartel just to go through that territory. The cartel would take possession of them. You pay the cartel. Right now, they're charging between $3,500 and $4,000. Even if you're just going to turn yourself in, you don't not even have to get smuggled. They're allowing you to turn yourself in to CBP and Border Patrol and to seek asylum, but you already paid the quota. And so they're making millions of dollars on a daily basis. I think I read today it was $14 million a day. Think about the amount of money. Now, there's the other part of it. There's the ones that do not want to be detected, that do not want to turn themselves into Border Patrol and still want to sneak into our country. And they're having a great success doing that. Why? Because Border Patrol is so overwhelmed with all the children coming in, with all the family units, with all the unaccompanied minors, with all these people trying to seek asylum. All of a sudden, our Border Patrol agents have become caretakers and transporters and testers and all this stuff that they're doing. And the border's wide open where there's no wall. You know, the wall, Biden stopped the construction of the wall. And so these cartels are taking advantage. All of this is benefiting them, by the way, the cartels. And they're shipping people like crazy. I just posted a video of a tractor trailer, a semi-tractor trailer at the back of illegal aliens being offloaded near San Antonio, Texas. This is, 300 miles from the border. Right. Dozens and dozens and dozens being offloaded in a smuggling venture because they're still doing that. The Border Patrol calls those the gotaways. They got away. The gotaway. Well, there's a lot of gotaways. If you look at the numbers of the apprehensions that they're getting, there was over 100,000 in February. They're thinking more than 200,000 this month. Those are incredible numbers. Those are the ones that they have apprehended. We don't know which ones are the ones that actually got away. We don't know the full numbers of actually people that are in our country. And the scary part is not just a migrant economic person that wants to come in here because I don't have a job in Guatemala or Honduras. It's the special interest alien that comes from special interest countries. And that is individuals that come from countries that the Department of Homeland Security and FBI have deemed special interest in the sense that they have ties to terrorism, like Syria, where the shooter from Colorado was originally from, Bangladesh, Somalia, Yemen, Pakistan. And so these individuals are there in Mexico as well. They've been there all this time. I used to interview them back then when I worked there. And they've been, because they know that once they do their smuggling venture from wherever they come from and they hit Mexico, they're as good as being in the US. And then they're allowed in, and then you never hear from them again. We have no idea where they're at. Are they gonna commit a mass shooting? Are they planning to do something else, a terroristic attack on our country? Border security is beyond illegal immigration. It is national security, and that's the point that I always try to bring across, the bigger picture of the influx. This has nothing to do, guys, with not being a humanitarian or not caring for the people or the children, or it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the protection of our sovereignty. We're losing it every day. And if we don't do something about it now, we're going to lose our sovereignty. And then we're not going to know. I'll tell you we're going to know. We're going to know what that feels like. And it's not a good feeling when you give up those rights.
I bet you it feels a little bit like this.
That's hilarious. It's okay, but it is overwhelming that the Biden administration will not. I just don't see it. It doesn't make any sense. First of all, what's happening at the border. Second, he's tying the hands of our ICE agents in the enforcement in the interior of the country. He stopped this great operation. It's called Operation Talon. It was ongoing last month. And this was an operation that ICE goes and locates illegal aliens convicted of sex crimes, child trafficking, child rape, child pornography. And they go round them up because they're supposed to be deported, right? Well, he put an end to that. He says, you're not to touch them. You're not to deport them. And so my thing is, if we can't deport illegal alien sex offenders, then who can we deport? Because I think we all could agree that those would be the primary people that we would want to remove from our country. And if we can't go after them, then who are we going to go after? And this policy is a dangerous one. And I'm not a fearmonger here by any means. I'm just telling you what we're seeing and what we can see, and more than likely we'll see in the spike in the ripple effect that I keep on calling it, because you'll see it affected in our schools. You'll seeing it in our healthcare systems, in our safety and security of our citizens. Some of these towns in the border towns are already overwhelmed. They're dropping off 300-400 people on a daily basis. And the sheriff and the mayors are like, hey, wait a minute. What do we do? How do we absorb these people? Where do we put them? And so maybe a lot of the blame is not on the actual migrant, because I understand them. They're just trying to do better, especially when Joe Biden tells them, come on over, the border's open. Well, you know what? If I was in Guatemala in those conditions, I'd come over too. And so the message has to be sent clearly from this government that if you're going to come to the United States, you must follow our laws. We have immigration laws. We have enforcement. And it's a very simple solution. You send that message down there. You start picking up people and start deporting them, especially the criminal aliens, and send them back and send the message that that's not the way you come into the United States. We have a very generous immigration system here, albeit I know it needs work. But nevertheless, that's the system that we have right now. You cannot just break it and just come in. Right now, we are allowing these individuals to come in almost like if nothing. They come in, we take down their information. There's so many of them right now that they're not even giving them what we call a notice to appear, an NTA. It's a document that takes all their information, that they're going to get a court hearing whenever that court hearing comes up, right? 2 or 3 years from now. But at least we have something. We have a record of that person. We're not even giving those away right now. We're just letting them come in the country to be lost somewhere. These some of these kids, by the way, let me talk a little bit about the unaccompanied minors. We have different sections here. We have children that are 5, 6, 7 years old that we're trying to locate their parents, trying to locate a next of kin. We don't know where they're at. That's a dire situation there. And we're keeping them in custody because we just can't give them up. Back under the Obama administration in 2014 and 15, when the kids in cages started, remember that? Well, the Obama administration didn't want to hold them. Just let them go, and just let them go to wherever anyone would say, this is my child or this is my cousin. Well, we ended up putting a bunch of these kids back in the hands of traffickers. So at least right now, they're trying to be a little more cognizant and say, well, wait a minute, we're holding on to them a little bit more so we won't send them out to the wrong hands. That's one section. But then you have the 16, 17-year-olds that are affiliated, a lot of them with the criminal element already. And if you don't believe that a 16, 17-year-old can be a criminal gang member or cartel member, you're gravely mistaken. These guys have been trained by the cartels, but because they're a minor, unaccompanied minor, they come right in. Another thing that I just heard from one of my contacts today is there's a lot of 19, 20, 21-year-olds coming in as 17-year-olds. I don't have a date of birth. I don't have my name is Jose Lopez, and I'm 17, but really he's 22.
Weird how that works out, huh?
Well, that's a threat. That's a threat to our communities. These guys are going to end up living where you live in your communities, everywhere, California, everywhere. I do conferences and I put up a map of where these guys are at. They're everywhere in our country. Maybe not so much in North Dakota, but that's probably the only state that's kind of not inhabited by these guys. But they're everywhere, and they're going to continue. The ties are not going to end just because they came in. These individuals are not here to assimilate. And by the way, Kaylee, I talk about this in my book. I think assimilation to this country is one of the most important things to do if you come here as an immigrant. You have to assimilate to our culture, to the American way. I'm a product myself. As I talk to you here, I'm a product of the American dream. My parents came here legally. They came here. Myself and my sisters were born here. We're the first ones to go to college. My twin sister's an attorney. My older sister is a successful property manager. And they did it the right way. And we assimilated to the country. I'm a patriot. I'm an American. And that's what we need to do. We don't want to let you come in from Honduras, and the first thing you come in here from Central America is wave your flag. If you want to come to America, we have our own culture. We have our own history. We have our Constitution, right? And these individuals come from broken countries that they don't know how this functions. They don't know the laws because it's broken in their country. And a last thing I'll end with here is the asylum that they're seeking. The asylum criteria to seek asylum into the United States is very clear. It's like 5 bullet points. It's super easy. You have to be persecuted by your government because of your race, your religion, or your political affiliation to an organization. Most of them, if not all of these individuals, are not. They will tell you when they're interviewed down there, they say, no, I want to come here because of a job. Or they want to say, well, there's a lot of violence in my country. Or, yes, the cartel killed my dad or killed my uncle and they killed my brother. All that is horrific. And those are horrific conditions and poverty and no education and no work. But that is still not a criteria for qualification for asylum. And the Biden administration is ignoring that. And they know these individuals do not qualify for asylum and are still letting them in. That's why the prior administration under the Trump administration had them wait in their home country or in Mexico because we knew they weren't going to qualify. Well, we'll do the investigation while you wait over there, and then we'll find out. And we find out that actually you do not qualify, and so you cannot come in. And so, as you can see, it's a big picture, a lot of information. It's the cartels. It's the illegal immigration, a lot of other groups, and the trafficking and the of drugs and children that still continues to happen that we cannot ignore.
I have a burning question, and I know other people are thinking the same. How does the U.S. benefit from all this? Because they're clearly not putting a stop to it. They don't care. In my mind, I'm thinking this is pushing communism and socialism towards the global governance, but you have more expertise here. So how exactly does the U.S. benefit?
Well, you're right on it. There's no benefit to the United States. I think the Democrats are doing it for several reasons. One, politically, right? It's a political move. Oh, we're going to get more Democrats, but more Democratic voters, Democrat voters. But how much of the country are you willing to destroy of the United States to accomplish that? We've seen them go to a lot of lengths here to do that. They don't put America first. They don't put the U.S. citizens first.
Mm-hmm.
They gave the Biden administration just last week $87 million to house illegal aliens in hotels. Yet we have our military in Washington, D.C., the National Guard, sleeping in garages. I had to go. I'll throw myself in as an example here. I went to a trial where I was almost murdered. And my partner was murdered. We went to a trial in D.C. and the government would not pay for 2 weeks of hotel stay for my family and me. They ended up reimbursing a portion of mine, and I was a U.S. official, but they will give $87 million to house illegal aliens and educate the kids and give them all the resources when we don't have our own children going to school in a lot of these states. It is upside down, guys. It is backwards. And I'm very glad that you guys have this platform and let me come on here to share this, because this is reality. And this is going to continue. And this is only the beginning. Joe Biden has been president for how long? Imagine 3.5 more years of this.
Oh, God.
We are expecting in the southern border over 1 million people before the end of the year if they don't shut it down. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, continues to say that the border is shut down. The border is closed, he said, and he says that the border is secure. This is the Secretary of Homeland Security, guys. This is unbelievable to me as an ex-employee of that department to hear those words when I'm telling you what's happening and the people that are coming in, and he has the audacity to say that the border is secure and that it's closed. You know, it's closed to essential travelers only, but it's been like that since COVID hit. But we're still allowing the illegals to come in. But if you're a regular person from Mexico that wants to travel into the US, you can't come in. But if you're illegal and by the way, you happen to have COVID, it doesn't matter, because if you're positive COVID, we're gonna put you on a bus and an airplane. I'm gonna verify the airplane. I haven't verified the airplane, but the buses for sure. They're being placed on buses. I live in Dallas, Texas. Our convention has 1,500 unaccompanied minors in here. The San Diego Convention Center is about to get open. They're using Houston. This is now moving closer, and before you know it, they're going to go closer and more into the interior of the United States, because these cities cannot handle them. These are a large number of people at one time, and that's why it is a crisis, and they won't admit it.
All right, Kaylee, your turn.
Oh, man. He answered a lot of my questions when he was talking. But so in your book, kind of towards the end, you start to talk about Biden's policy that he put in place and walking guns. Can you explain that just a little bit? Because I'm going to be honest, I wasn't like politically woke or informed until Donald Trump became president, because he started to expose so much. And then I was like, okay, I can't, I'm going to stop being ignorant and I'm going to start, learning. So can you explain just like briefly what his walking guns policy was?
Yeah, walking guns is under the Obama administration. It blew up when Agent Brian Terry, a Border Patrol agent, was killed in the line of duty with one of these weapons. These are weapons that were bought in the United States. It's called Operation Fast and Furious. And if people want to Google that, you'll see a ton of information online about it. Operation Fast and Furious. It was an operation led by ATF, but a lot of federal agencies were involved. It started in the Phoenix office, the ATF Phoenix office, and ATF, for whatever reason, the Obama administration, they said, you know what? Let's go ahead and allow our agents to supervise people buy guns in the United States and let them walk. That's why we call it gun walking. Let them go south into Mexico and not trace them. Let's just let them go. And so we could identify the bigger fish and maybe take down some of these arms trafficking organizations. Well, the problem with that, and it was the biggest botched U.S. operation in the history of law enforcement, because they never let up with the second part. Nobody ever from ATF contacted Mexico and said, hey, by the way, here comes 700 AK-47s coming down to the border. How about you track them to wherever they're going to take them and then take these people down? They never did that. So they sent thousands of firearms. And this happened in December of 2010 when Agent Brian Terry was killed. 2 months later, we were ambushed, and 2 of the weapons recovered were from a similar operation out of Texas. It's linked to Fast and Furious. Exactly the same thing. ATF was aware. ATF had the opportunity to arrest these guys and never did it. They did it under their own watch. ATF even forced the gun shop owners to sell the guns, because even the gun shop owners in Arizona and even in Nevada said, wait a minute, this seems kind of strange that even though I know you're the government and you're showing your badge and you're telling me to give you 300 guns, 500 guns, 700 guns, and it doesn't seem right. The ATF says, no, you're going to have to do it. And they did it so blatantly that they put some of these gun shop owners out of business, and some even in jail for not complying with them. And this is how bad and corrupt this operation was. Anyway, these guns have turned up in Benghazi. Remember the mass shooting in Paris a few years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Fast and Furious gun. It's a Fast and Furious gun. El Chapo Guzman, the head of the Sinaloa cartel, he had a 50 caliber Fast and Furious gun. In our shooting, 2 of them were recovered, and they've turned up in hundreds of crime scenes, and they've killed thousands of Mexican nationals. Well, you're arming them. You're arming the cartels. And so I talk about it in the book because we've been trying to get the information, but the Obama administration blocked all this. President Obama asserted executive privilege order. And to this day, even after President Trump was president, we were unable to lift that executive order to gain access to the documents. And we're still fighting for that.
Wow.
So I have 2 questions for you. My first question is, I really want you to hone in on, because here at Primetime Patriots, we're huge advocates for the children worldwide, not only American children. But my first question is, how are kids being impacted, and how many do you truly think are being, trafficked across the border? And people don't think that's a reality. And I just want you to reiterate, because you've seen it firsthand, like it is a reality, and showing how severe of a situation it truly is.
It's a great question. So yes, they're not all being trafficked, and traffic means there's an exploitation of this child, right? Not all of them are. Some are just coming wherever they come from, Central America. And by the way, it's not just Central America and Mexico. It's from all over the world. We have people from all over the world: Haitians, Cubans, Brazilians, Chinese, and Central Middle Easterns coming in through Mexico right now. I want to just put that across. It's not just that group of people. And so not all the children are being trafficked, but there are kids that are being, so there's 2 different, several categories here. There are kids that are being recycled. So they are used as a family unit, because if you come in as a family unit, you're treated differently at the border, because that's the way our laws are written. So here comes this, 4 or 5 people with a 1 kid or 2. And for some reason, they think it's a child under the age of 6 that gives them access. Right. They come in here. That child is not their child, is not their next of kin. That child then either gets, when they get admitted, either right now when they go to a camp, and the child they're doing a lot of DNA testing to see if in fact the person that's saying that this is my child is or is not. HSI special agents are helping out with the DNA testing. There are children that have been smuggled in smuggled in and that nobody knows about, and brought into the United States, taken back to Mexico, used to gain access, and then the child is used again. There's a sheriff in Arizona that Oscar mentioned that was used 17 times. And so then that's another category. Then you have the worst of the categories where the children are actually brought in there's, for human trafficking, there's always has to be an element of force, fraud, or coercion. And there's the force version where these kids are specifically brought over for that reason. And that's just to be trafficked. Women, young boys. And those are the cases that I investigated where these kids are being smuggled to be brought to Houston, New York, Miami, Chicago, Atlanta, and are being put in brothels or being put in mostly for sexual exploitation under the sex slave trade. Some for the forced labor. We can't ignore that part. A lot of the young teenagers are exploited in the fields and had hard labor and are not being paid at all and exploited that way as well. And so those are the cases that I worked and tried and dismantled many organizations that brought these children over to the U.S. And it's horrific conditions. I don't have to go into details, but they have to service these men, 20, 30 a night. It is incredible. And I wrote an example there in my book. It's a little bit of a shocking story in there, but I put it in there because I want people to know that it happens and it's a real story. And it's as an investigator of these type of crimes, it is, you can't undo the images. You can't undo what you have seen and dealt with. But I think it's important to inform the public that, in fact, it's an underground thing that happens. It's real. It's a dark thing. A lot of people don't want to think that it actually occurs, but it actually is very prevalent, and so it does happen.
And then my next question is what is the Flores settlement, and can you elaborate and tell people what that is? Because I have a feeling a lot of people don't know what that is.
Yes, the Flores settlement is actually one of the biggest reasons that we see the unaccompanied minors coming in. The Flores settlement is a settlement. It's not even in a law, but for some reason, the Biden administration is treating it as a law, and so did the Obama administration. The Trump administration wasn't able to change it, and it takes a matter of changing the language in the Florida settlement. And you could Google it, you could read the Florida settlement, but the main part of it is that you could only hold a minor child for a certain amount of days. In this case, I think it's 20 days. Well, guess what? They're holding on to them a lot longer than that now, and they're blaming it on COVID. They're saying, oh, well, because we need to quarantine them, or because of they're all blaming it on COVID now because they can't get rid of them within the 20 days. Why? Because we don't know where their parents are. We don't know where their family members are. And so now that's why you see the overflow of these migrants in these detention centers and these minors overflowing. And that's been taken care of by Health and Human Services that does that. ICE turns them over to them. And so all of a sudden you have a bunch of kids that now they require attention, And so the Florida settlement is something that can be fixed in one day. In one day, Congress can change it immediately. It's not even a law. It's a settlement that actually happened under the Clinton administration, and it's been modified several times. And I think it should just be undone to begin with, because another loophole in there, it treats Central Americans different than Mexican nationals because of where they're coming from. And so it treats them differently. It treats family units differently. And so you don't hear a lot about the Flores settlement in the news at all. People don't even know about it, but I do put it in my book so people can become familiar.
Isn't it crazy to me, or to all of you, that, if you put this into perspective, these people are leaving their countries. These kids are leaving without their families to come to America to have a better life. And then here in America, we have such minor problems compared to these individuals that we're literally arguing of what bathroom we're going to pee in.
Yeah.
Like, there are so much bigger issues in this world than the things that the Democrats are pushing an agenda for. For what reason? If you really want to make a change, why don't we do the things that are actually impacting Americans? Or the fact that 1 out of every 5 kids in America lives in a home which they don't know if they're going to get their next meal in America. And you're going to spend $90 million to house these illegal immigrants when you can't even house the 40,000 veterans that are homeless in this country.
Facts.
And that's what I can't. It's like you can't save the sinking ship or the sinking ship if you don't plug the holes. You're just going to keep making more and more holes, and it's just going to continually sink. We got to plug our own holes, and then we can invite more people on the boat. And that's what I just don't understand why that thought process can't cross people's minds, is that you can't save people when we can't even save ourselves.
I use this example a lot, and I just started using this example because I recently flew, and it reminded me, what do they tell you when the mask drops? Put your mask on first, and then you save your child, right? And then, or whoever you're with that needs help.
Yep.
That's what we need to do in the United States. We need to put and believe me, it has nothing to do with actual masks. It's an example because I don't want to get into the whole mask thing, but that's a whole other show. But we have to take care of ourselves first. Then I'm all for helping. The United States is a generous country, and we help the rest of the world. All of a sudden, we're the most racist, we're the most evil people in the world. White people are getting. I can't even, as a Hispanic American, I feel bad for white people. Why are being attacked all of a sudden for being white? This is insane.
Victor,
And
don't you know that all lives matter except white people's lives?
Oh my God, I got attacked for saying that. I got attacked for saying all lives matter because I said all lives matter. I said, of course, Black lives matter, but all lives matter. Hispanic lives, Asian lives. Oh, they attacked me. They call me a bigot. They call me a racist, a pig, and they call me all these names because that's true. Because all lives do matter. Because I believe in God and I believe all lives matter. I wasn't taught racism at my house. I don't want my kids to be taught racism at the school. But that's what they want. They want to teach you hate. They want to teach you. How about we teach, like you were talking a little bit, how about we teach the Constitution? How about we go back to basics and teach our kids critical thinking skills that you'll need in the future in your life. But anyway, I could get off and talk about all that. But guys, this is real. And what's happening down at our border is a huge issue. Because it's gonna continue to come into the country. You will see eventually other cities having to take some of these individuals in. They're not going to have enough room in the border towns to take them, and then people are going to be like, "Wait a minute, whoa. They were coming to my town." My son's school was a ratio of 15-1, and now it's 31-1. I can't go into the ER room and now I have to wait 4 hours because the ER is full of illegal aliens trying to get service. Now that they're getting a stimulus check, so we're giving them money already, and this is not the right way to do it. I'm very pro legal immigration. I'm not an anti-immigrant person. I'm not an anti-immigration person. I'm telling you, I'm the product of legal immigration, and I'm all for it. Right now, I feel really bad for the ones that have been waiting for their green card, that have been waiting 12, 13 years. All of a sudden, they pushed aside. They're probably thinking, man, I should have just gone and turned myself in to Border Patrol and seek asylum, and I would have been in the country. And they're being punished for doing it the right way. This is not the correct way. This is not the correct path that we should take when it comes to immigration.
But the message is all because of the words. Words have meaning, and it's the words. This crisis was not here during the Trump administration. It was not here, no matter how much Jen Psaki and Joe Biden say it. Just because they say it 100 times does not make it true. We all saw it. We all lived it. It did not happen. And the words of Joe Biden have caused this travesty and crisis at the southern border. And we are going to preach the truth here at Primetime Patriots because the mainstream media is going to try to spin it every way that they can because they know that they are the cause of this mess. But
what are they doing now? They're going back to blaming old Trump. Oh, let's blame Trump. Let's blame Trump. It was all his. That's the way he left it. No, it's not. Listen, there was remember in 2018 that we had an issue there, and he put a stop to it. What did President Trump do? He got with President of Mexico, and he made a deal, and he said, listen, You either take care of your southern border, and Mexico put 25,000 National Guard of their own down in their southern border of Belize and Guatemala, and you said you better stop them from even coming into the Mexico, or we're going to cut you off. There's not going to be any more funding. There's not going to be forget trade. Mexico would collapse. As it is, Mexico is in shambles right now economically. COVID hit them really hard. The insecurity with the cartels, they're in bad shape. If they lost the trade of the multi-billions that they make with the trade with the U.S., which is USMCA, and Trump said, "You don't do that, I'm gonna tax you. I'm gonna put tariffs on you." This is the leadership that we need, not the other way around. President Biden, by the way, has sent $4 billion down to Central America, and there's no one to oversee that money. $4 billion.
Weird. Isn't that a little weird?
Well, where do you think the money's going to go? These are corrupt countries. They're going to line their pockets, and are the people going to get it? Is the crime going to go away? No. This continues to happen. The stimulus, it's a lot of spending of your money and my money, our hard-earned taxes, that we're not seeing a return on it. We are losing our kids in school. They're not learning anything now. It is online, virtual, whatever person. It's not the same. We need to get back to teach our kids the basics and our values of this country, and move forward. And I think we have the opportunity. I'm an optimistic guy. I survived being shot and almost killed. And let me tell you, once you see something like that and go through something in your life, you become a decently positive person and see life in a different light. And I think that we have something to aspire for. I think we will get out of this, and I think America will be great again.
Since you brought that up, you said we can be great again. We started a trend here called Make America Think Again. We can talk about all the issues and everything that's wrong in this country, what's going on, which is great because it needs to be exposed. I think conservatives need to focus more on solutions. Like, how do we fix this? What can Americans do? Of course, we can't stop all the illegal immigration, but we can do something as American citizens. And I agree.
I agree 100%. And I'll tell you, I'm an honest guy. A lot of the issues are with the Republican Party as well. They've been silent in a lot of ways. We haven't had that leadership step up. I want to see those leaders come up and be unafraid. You stand up for what's right. And, it's always very hard to make the right decision. It's easy to make the wrong one all the time, but it's very hard to make the right one. It might not be the popular one, but that deep down it's the right decision. We need our politicians and our elected officials. And guess what? Everybody thinks Congress, U.S. It starts at your local level. Who's your mayor? Who's your city council person? Who's your board member? Those are the people that are making the decisions in the city of where you live, or whether or not the restaurant is open, or whether or not you cover your face. The county commissioner has all this power all of a sudden. Who is the county commissioner? Have you ever been to a city council meeting? Have you ever been to a board meeting? I challenge you to go and check it out, and just to be exposed to that process at your local level, and you'd be surprised what they're trying to do at your local level. I'm heavily involved in mine, because the school board issue is a big one here. It's come to us, the critical race theory and everything else. It starts at the local level. Look at what's happening in Portland. Look at what's happening in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Look at what's going to happen in Minneapolis. There's an autonomous zone where they killed George Floyd. You can't get in there. Not the police, not anyone. That's the local level. That's your local police chief. That's your local mayor. And you need to get with them and hold them accountable. If you're not liking what they're doing, you need to vote them out and get people in there that will represent and what benefits the citizens of your town. That's where it starts off, because politics ultimately is all local. That's where it goes, because it'll go from there all the way to your state rep, to your U.S. congressman, all the way up senator, and to the president. That's where it starts, at the local level.
I thank you for saying that. I really do.
We've kind of been preaching that here.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Us, well, what do we do? And we're like, dude, you got to start at a local and state level. And they're just like, well, it doesn't matter because our voting is rigged. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not paying attention to the local governments right now. They're actually doing things to change those laws.
That's
A
right.
lot of them.
They
lot
are.
of them. So it starts there. You just heard it from the ex-ICE agent. He has all this information. He's the expert here. The only way you're going to change anything is if you vote state and local. We've been saying this for months, so it feels good to have you come here and say the exact same thing that we've all been saying.
Awesome.
Yes. You want me to close out, Blake? You can if you want.
No, I'm good. I feel like I talk so much. I'm like,
Guys, actually, Victor, thank you so much for coming on our platform. I mean, I can't put into words how much we appreciate it. Thank you for your service to our country. I just, by reading your book, know the things that you've been through, and the fact that you are still a functioning human being with this much positivity. I'm not sure that I could go through the same thing and be the same way. So I appreciate everything that you've done. And I appreciate the fact that you talk to people, because it's so important. I am going to throw this back up here, you guys. I'm highly recommending that you go buy Victor's book. It is so good. Agent Under Fire, A Murder and a Manifesto. Please go purchase this book. You will not be disappointed. I'm telling you right now, you won't be disappointed.
you can get it online too.
You could go.
Yes.
You could go through. You could go through my website if you want. I have all the links there. AgentUnderFireBook.com, or directly to Amazon and Barnes and Noble or the publisher. But if you go through my website, AgentUnderFireBook.com, the links are there, and it's easier to order, and it'll take you straight to the one you want.
I would like for you to shout out any of your social media pages as well,
Oh,
so
yeah.
our followers can follow you, because I know they'll want to.
My two main ones are Instagram is Victor Avila Jr., Victor Avila Jr., Instagram, and my Facebook. Maybe you're not on Facebook. You guys are too. My daughter is like, oh, that's for old people. But I use Facebook, and it's Victor Avila, and you'll find me at Victor Avila Facebook, and Twitter. I'm at, if you still use that, it's at Vic Survivor 11, at Vic Survivor 11, my Twitter. And you'll see videos and all my media that I go on there and talk about these issues. I talk a lot about what you mentioned a little bit, Kaylee, about how did I get here? Well, it wasn't easy. I had a lot of dark days, and I talk a lot about officer wellness as well. You know, officer suicide is at a highest rate right now because it's hard to be a law enforcement officer. It's hard anytime. It's harder now because they're being vilified. And so I like to share that experience of what I went through physically, mentally, emotionally, and the back end of. You'll see that when you read it, how much I mention my family in the book, because that's how important I think they are.
All right, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Victor, again, thank you for being on our platform.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
We will catch you guys next time.
All right, guys, remember, make America think again. That's what it's all about.